I'd like to welcome you to our solid waste informational meeting this evening. I am Sharon Subadan. I'm the interim city manager here in South Fulton, and this is day 2 for me. So I'm going to ask you to be gentle, and I promise to be gentle back. We're not trying to harm you. We're only trying to help you. But seriously, thank you all for coming out. We know this is an important issue to you. We're taking it very seriously as your staff, and our goal is to answer all of your questions tonight. You will get a little bit of information on the flow of the meeting, but I'm very thankful for our council members who have taken the initiative to take this big step, and looking forward to serving you better. So thank you for coming out this evening, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you. I'm Gordon Burkett. I'm the solid waste coordinator for the city of South Fulton. Welcome. I'm excited to see everybody. We're going to be very concise tonight. We're going to go through a brief formal presentation. And then we're going to do a full question and answer question. For housekeeping, I'd ask everybody to turn off their cell phones or put them on vibrate. When you come up, the microphone is right here when we go to the question and answer. And we'd ask that you limit your questions or comments to 2 minutes. And please be respectful of the other folks in the presentation so everybody can fully enjoy this event tonight. Okay, with that, I'd like to bring up our council members to have an opportunity to speak about this program. We've been spending quite a bit of time on this program, and Councilwoman Willis has been the leader of that, and here she is.
Good evening, South Fulton. Thank you. I'm Councilmember Willis with the City of South Fulton. I represent District 3, and I know that change is hard, and I know that change is different, but I wanted to give you a little background of how we got here. Of course, we were established in 2017, but prior to us establishing in 2017, we were unincorporated Fulton County, and actually, Fulton County was going to roll out single source to the unincorporated area. But Fulton County halted on that rollout because we were in progress of establishing cityhood. When we started in 2017, we went through the process of rolling out the single source sanitation program, and we actually put out an RFP that went out in 2018. And some of you all may remember, Councilmember Gumbs, you can come up because you're one of the sponsors, and we have a seat for you. The sponsors for this program, I want to back up, is me, Councilmember Gumbs, Councilmember Sebastian, and Councilmember Reeves. We are the lead sponsors for the sanitation program. In 2018, we did put out an RFP, and we went through the entire process, and some of the people that applied, the community adamantly wanted to keep the free market. And so the council decided to not go forward with the solicitation and roll out the free market. Now, fast forward, we're here in 2023. The free market was okay for a period of time because we had several vendors. We had about 35,000 residents, sanitation, residential trash customers. And, but what happened was we had a vendor to monopolize the market and buy out a lot of small haulers. And they took control of the market, and they now have over 60% of the customers here in the city of South Fulton. And annually, we started getting complaints from residents that their fees were going up annually. We, as a city of South Fulton, could not control that because we are a free market. As long as they were a legal business operating legally in the city of South Fulton, we could not control the free market. When the pandemic hit, the complaints continued to increase from residents about missed trash pickups, about not being able to get in touch with several of their sanitation providers, and the provider that had over 50% of the business in the city of South Fulton continued to increase customer prices. If you were to take a poll of everybody in this room, everyone is paying something different. You have some people paying $100, you have some people paying $90 a quarter, you have some people paying $60 a quarter. And so after an overwhelming amount of complaints, every time there was a complaint about a sanitation provider, residents would call South Fulton. Again, it was a free market, we couldn't do anything about it. So the only way the city of South Fulton could hold sanitation providers accountable and regulate prices for everybody, make sure that we hold them accountable for customer service, is to roll out what we're doing now, and that is sole source. And that is what we are here now to tell you the next steps about. I know everyone isn't happy, but we have to make decisions as a council that's for the good of the majority of this council. Mr. Burkhead is going to tell you the next steps of rolling out this program. We're not in this city to make profit. We're not making money off of this. We're in the business to provide service. And so he's going to break down what it's cost, why the cost is $19 a month, and why it equates to $233 a year annually. He will explain that to you. He will explain how the process is going to be rolled out. He will also explain the curbside service that many of you already have and how that will roll over. And he will also explain how you're going to get your trash cans delivered to you. So I want to thank Mr. Burkett and Ms. Subadon and Mr. Toms and Waste Pro for all they have done to bring us to this point. We did put out a fair solicitation, and 3 vendors did reply to the solicitation. We did have an evaluation committee, and this is the recommendation that came back from the evaluation committee. The city council does not get involved with procurement. We only vote on recommendations. And I want to sit down. Before I sit down, I will say this to you. Not any sanitation provider has a good record or a perfect record. If you were to look at all the sanitation companies, there is something said about all of them. But what we are in good position to do, we have a contract with Waste Pro. And so if we're in a position to hold them accountable for customer service, for picking up trash, and timely, and making sure they're responsive, and if they do not provide the best customer service to the city, the contract does allow for the city to hold them accountable through sanctions. And that is a better position than when we were in the free market, because we could not do anything. Because the free market is just what it is. It's free market. The contract is with you and the vendor. Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Burkett. And if you have any questions, we have people outside that can entertain your questions and show you how you can look up what day your trash is going to be picked up. You can put in the address, and it will tell you based on your color code and based on your district when your trash service will come to your area. And he will go through all of that as well. Thank you.
All right. Make sure I'm watching the presentation over here too. All right, so let me, by sea of hands, how many people have received a notice in the mail from the city of South Fulton about the change coming soon? Wow, okay. All right, so I want to start off by saying if you received that, that brochure, that means you're on the list. There's nothing else for you to do at this point. You're going to receive a container. And in June 1st, we're going to start service. And your current provider will collect that existing can. I want to make sure that's clear here before we get started. I want to say special thank you to all the council people. This has been a very rewarding experience. I've been a lot of different places that I'd never been before. Okay, we had some fun, but we also were as an opportunity to meet many of you there. And also share this message that's going out today. And I'd encourage each one of you to share this with your neighbors because there's still a lot of folks that aren't aware of this change and when it's coming on and what it will mean to them. So please make sure to share that, put your information out on Facebook or Nextdoor or whatever you have that you do socially. Your neighbors, talk to them about this, make sure everybody's aware so that when we come around to June 1st, everybody's ready. Today's presentation is pretty clear and straightforward. We can go to the next slide. Program purpose, why are we doing this? Resident roles. You know, if I were sitting in the audience with you tonight, I'd ask, what's in this for me? What do I need to do? And we're going to answer all those questions tonight. Additional services, okay? We're very intentional to keep the number of services that we have in the program, excuse me, to a limited number because, as you probably know, the city of South Fulton is very diverse. We've got people who live in condos, and we have people that live on 12-acre estates. So we wanted to make sure the services that we offered as our core services were responsive to those groups, and that anything that was additional, because some things, other people would like, that they had an opportunity to get those things as well, but that would be separate. So we'll talk about that as well. Billing, I know that's a major question that's come up. And we'll, again, like the councilwoman said, we'll definitely break down what you're paying for. And then next steps. June 1st is very close, and I'm sure everybody in here wants to make sure that they're ready. I know I'm ready, and I want to make sure everybody else is as well. All right, next slide. And welcome Waste Pro. This is Bob Wolk, by the way. He's a governmental relations person from Waste Pro. He's been our partner in this process, and we're looking forward to working together. All right. Our program purpose is pretty straightforward: to make the city of South Fulton cleaner and more attractive through a consistent, comprehensive, cost-effective approach. I've worked in the city of South Fulton almost 4 years now, and it's always been the constant energy around litter, okay? My neighborhood looks dirty. My grass isn't cut. And this program, we listened to those things and incorporated those in here. But also we need to be mindful of how much things cost. A lot of things have gone up recently here. For many of you, this will actually be a price cut. And I'm glad that we're able to do that. And I hope you're glad as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. And then we want it to be comprehensive. It's got to be across the board. It's not just one thing. It's litter in the road. It's the cleanliness of the curb line. It's the level of the grass. All those things matter, and we want that experience to be a quality one. So when we have family over, friends over, we're proud for them to experience what we experience every day. That's important as well. Next slide. Our resident roles are pretty straightforward. Again, I saw many people raise their hands tonight, and I'm glad of that. If you raised your hand, just keep doing the same thing you're doing right now until June. Continue using your current provider, okay? Continue using your current roll cart. And also, if you have not already talked to your provider, I know some people have already gotten refunds, but they're going to prorate your rate so that you should get a refund if you paid past June 1st, okay? I know I talked to GFL about it this morning. They've got 22,000 that they're doing manually. So if you're a customer of GFL, be patient. They're working on your refund, okay? And then last but not least, and you'll see this is a continuing theme, current provider will not pick up your new cart, okay? So it's important not to use that cart until we pass June 1st, okay? What we don't want is garbage to sit in your neighborhood in front of your house that's not going to be picked up, okay? So continue to use that existing cart until June 1st, and then you can use a new one, and then the old one will make sure that your provider comes and picks it up at a later date. Next slide, please. Resident roles, okay. The most important thing is to find your day of service. How many people have already found their day of service? Wow, I'm impressed. All right, so we're trying to make that as simple as possible. As the councilwoman mentioned earlier, we have a map that's on our website that will tell you your day of service for two things. So you're gonna have, obviously, weekly garbage collection is one of the core items, and you'll have monthly bulky collections, okay? So when you go to the map, it will tell you both of those things, and it will also tell you your council person as well. The most important thing, though, is the QR code. If you see the garbage can over there, that actually, Bob brought that in from the factory that's in Lawrenceville, Georgia. So it is fresh off the press. It has a QR code on the top. And going forward, as well as a phone number, because we know not everybody is into technology. So if you need additional services, or if your cart for some reason was not serviced, you'll be able to go to that QR code. And Bob's going to talk a little bit about what else is available on the QR code, as well as the residential map. And you can go to the next slide. Come on up.
Hello, everybody. So, as Gordon said, if you can use the QR code or go to the website, or you could even call to get the information, there's a link that allows you to plug in your address, and it'll tell you exactly which day your service is on. It'll also tell you which day your bulk collection is on. So bulk collection, you get 2 items per month. We're going to come once a month. It's always going to be on a Monday. It'll be in zones, but it'll tell you which your zone is. Extra services or extra things that you might want, we do have an extra cart available that if you contact us via the QR code or via phone, we can set you up with a second cart that you would pay us directly for. There'll be a link on that website that you can request that cart, put your name, your phone number in, all that. Additional service would be yard waste. If you want weekly yard waste collection, we will also have that available on the website, or you can call in if you don't do web. Those are really the only extra services, unless you're a clubhouse, but that's a different HOA clubhouse. But, excuse me? Yeah, okay, so HOA clubhouses, they can also contact us. The pool area, somebody may want a couple of garbage cans there, so just reach out through the website, give us a call, we'll get you set up. We're going to begin deploying carts this coming Monday, the 8th of May. We're going to start with the Thursday area, which is, it's hard to see on this map, but I believe it's green, the green area. The Thursday is June 1st, so that'll be the first area of collection. So we'll start deploying there first, then we'll move to the Friday areas, Monday, Tuesday, et cetera, so that when we get to June 1, we're ready to go. And we thank you for your confidence and allowing us to try to serve you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Bob. All right, next slide, please. Okay, resident roles here again. I know there were a lot of questions about how payments will be made for this service. It is $233.14 per year. That's every 12 months, which works out to be $19.43 per month. We are working with the tax commissioner of Fulton County, who is going to issue an invoice for that amount. It will probably go out in the month of July. You will have 60 days to make that payment. Again, that includes the weekly garbage collections and monthly bulky item collection as well. Next slide. I noticed a few things on social media that were talking about the amount that we're charging, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on exactly, where these funds are going to. As the councilwoman said, we're not in this to make a profit. We're in here to make quality communities, okay? So what are quality communities about? Number one, they're clean and attractive. One of the things that I learned a long time ago, has anybody heard about the broken window concept? Anybody? Okay. So the gist of the broken window concept is if your community looks any old kind of way, they'll treat it any old kind of way, okay? And that includes crime and other things. Our objective is to make sure that our community is clean, attractive, safe for the citizens that we serve. So this program includes our mowing program, which is we mow 200 miles of road every month. Up until this year, we did 200 miles a month. We've doubled that to 200 miles every 2 weeks. So that's 400 miles a month, and we're doing litter in that same area for that same amount. So 400 miles of litter we're collecting every month in the city of South Fulton. That includes the street sweepers, okay? So how many people have seen the street sweepers out there? Anybody? We do 100 miles every month, and that's included in this as well, okay? How many people have used Merck Miles Senior Citizens Convenience Center? All right, that's included in this as well, all right? Anybody report a dead deer on the side of the road? That's this program as well. We collect dead animals. Weekly servicing of city receptacles. We've got 32 receptacles throughout the city. They'll be serviced every week. This year is the first time we were able to have a regularly scheduled service, so we're very proud of that. Illegal dumping site cleanup. How many people have seen a bunch of bags at the end of the corner or in front of a cell phone tower? That's us as well. We go and clean that. That's part of this program as well. Administrative costs. For me to be here tonight, this is included in that as well. And I'm grateful. Let's just say that. Okay? Spring and fall cleanup day. I know that's a popular event. That is paid for through this program as well. And then how many people participated in our paper shredding event this week? We had one this week. We do those as well, especially for seniors. It's important. We want to make sure that we get rid of those sensitive documents and recycle that material. That's included as well as a service. We have up to 4 a year. We'll be announcing some additional locations, but that's going to be in addition to what we do at the spring and fall cleanup day. Okay? All right. Next slide, please. All right. Again, additional services that Bob talked about: roll carts, yard debris collections, non-curbside collections. We'll talk about a little bit more. And then we talked about roll carts for HOA common areas. So if you have a pool in your HOA and you like to have a roll cart there, that's outside of the agreement that we have with Waste Pro, but Waste Pro has agreed to set up a way for those activities to continue and provide that support service at those facilities as well. All right, next slide, please. Next steps, all right? Every home will receive a brand new cart. So if you got that letter in the mail, that cart is scheduled to come to your house, okay? It will come between May 8th and May 31st. Again, if your home is on the map, you're signed up. The only one area that there's a little question on this is areas where there's new construction. We're working to make sure that all those areas are taken care of as well. But, this information we're using is based from the tax commissioner. So if you haven't paid a tax bill yet, you're not on that list. So we're adding those names on there as well to make sure that you get the service that you need. And again, keep using your existing container until June 1st. Next slide, please. Old carts are being collected starting June 1st. This is actually one of the carts that we collected a couple of months ago. I say old carts create new problems. So we want to make sure that we collect those up as many as possible, as quickly as possible, to make sure that our neighborhoods are very clean and attractive. Next slide. So one of the questions that's come up quite a bit here of recent note is our non-curbside collection program, which is also known as backdoor service. And that's basically for people who are physically unable to get the container to the curb, and there's no one in the home that can provide that service. It is at no additional cost, and to qualify, you basically have to fill out an application and have a doctor certify that you indeed have that concern. And we have some applications available at the back of the auditorium for the end of this meeting if you'd like to have one of those. Also, if you are with GFL and you have backdoor service through GFL, we will migrate you into the system. We'll grandfather you in and give 6 months to complete the application. So that service is important, and we don't want to discontinue it, okay? Before I end here, I want to also say Councilman Sebastian, who's one of the sponsors, is also here in the front. So we're grateful for your leadership as well. And with that, we can go to the next slide, which is the question slide. Again, as I mentioned earlier, with housekeeping, please limit your comment or concern to 2 minutes. And you must provide your name and your address of where you live. And the microphone is open right here. Yes. Do we have a timer in the back? Is it Jackie, I think? Yep.
Hi. It's on. Okay, my name is Marcia Steele, and I live in Melanie Manor. It is District 7, formerly District 5. My concern is with, I have followed you in numerous places asking the same question. And the question is there a senior discount? We have over 12,000 seniors in this city. And not one of the council people that I know of has submitted anything for us to get a discount. It's unfair that you put this kind of pressure on seniors and aging citizens and not give them an opportunity to pay this. This is not right. It's not fair, and one of you council members needs to write something up, vote on it, and put it in place. Like you said, it can be done.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm going to answer the question. So we did quite a bit of research in advance of preparing this program. And the average person pays $26 a month in the city of South Fulton for garbage service currently. So with 1943, we're effectively giving everybody at a discount. It's a very cost-effective number. It is not a perfect number, but we wanted to, again, we were very concerned, especially council, that this would be something that would be affordable. So. Thank you, ma'am. You want to go next, please?
Yes. And I'm going to piggyback on what you were saying because it is. Oh, I'm
yes.
sorry.
Name
My name is Miss Perryman, and I'm at 670 Timber Grove Drive. I was a customer of Waste Pro. Waste Pro Waste Pro, I had to call them constantly about picking up my trash. My trash pickup was on a Friday. If they didn't pick it up, and I would call them and ask them to come and get my trash, they wouldn't do it. We'll have to pick it up next week. I've had problems with Waste Pro, time after time after time. When I got that notice about you all had decided that we were going to use them, I was like, they don't know what they're asking for.
Okay.
I have been with them for it's over a year, and I got a senior discount and backdoor pickup for less than what they're saying now. I'm a witness, so I can testify. So that's what I wanted to say. It should be cheaper for senior citizens. They should not have to pay that, and you all should get backdoor service at a cheaper price for senior citizens.
Okay, I'd like to respond to that. Number one, backdoor service in this program is no additional cost. Okay, so that's included in the 1943. I will also say that you know, as the councilwoman said earlier, there is no perfect solid waste provider. Okay, everybody's had some trouble, especially during the pandemic. What people don't know what's happened about the pandemic, if you ever remember going to the new car dealership and noticing they only had 8 or 10 cars out there when you're normally seeing 100 or 150 cars, that's because they couldn't get parts. So some were affected more than others. I remember very distinctly July 4th weekend last year when almost no one was served in the city of South Fulton. And that was because of mechanical errors for the most part. Old equipment, okay? One of the things that we like about this deal is every piece of equipment that will be servicing our citizens is brand new, okay? Now, the first trucks that you see out there are not gonna be the trucks that we'll have initially, eventually. So we'll be using some rental equipment initially because the equipment that we need is not available at this time. But we're making sure that we're going to have the service, and it's going to be very high quality. So, Mr. in the white.
Ron Fowler, 4196 Cascade Road. First of all, I got a question, but the first thing is, I'm not comfortable with you saying, starting right off, that there might be problems. You know, I would think some people have had this company, that hopefully you vetted them, talk to these people that had it, you could research that, find out, get some feedback on them. It doesn't sound like that project was done, but just come in
Absolutely.
And tell me in the beginning, we're going to have some problems. Mm-hmm. Wait for it, and then you're talking about pandemic and all of that. Is that the reason that they had these issues? Was it because of the pandemic? You couldn't get help, you couldn't get trucks. That's critical to know when you're making this decision, because it just leads me to be suspicious of why this was done like it was. The other thing is, I haven't heard anything about recycles. Okay. Are you doing anything about that, or because that's pretty important? You know, I've been doing this when I was in DeKalb, and now doing it here. Okay. It's just pretty good. It's important. I mean, he's pushing it all over, and I think if we're this up-and-coming city, that's something that you should have. I shouldn't have to run, like somebody out there said, take it over to Merck. Right. You know, I mean, come on now.
All right. I'd like to answer your question.
I want you to answer it, yeah.
I actually used to operate the recycling system in DeKalb.
I'm sorry?
I used to operate that system.
I remember you.
So here's the thing about recycling. It is a very expensive approach right now. And we looked at it, and it was very difficult, a very difficult decision to make, but it was very expensive. It was going to add about $10 a month to each bill. That was a very strong consideration for us. We needed to make sure this program was cost effective. But also, you know, the key part about recycling is you got to have a market that's ready and understands it and is participating, okay? If you bring the reference back in DeKalb, our participation rate was 25%, okay, which is very high, but that was a very highly educated group in terms of recycling, and people knew what to do and when to do it. In terms of recycling, so our group here, it's much less than that, but it's not cost effective at this point.
Hold up, he misused words. Don't get offended on that. Let's continue going now. When you say much
Yes.
less here, what are you talking about much less?
I'm sorry,
You
what
said
you say?
25%. What was much less? What is it here in DeKalb?
It's less than 10% right now.
Less than 10%.
So we do offer recycling at no charge at Merck Miles, and our plan is to open a second facility to do a similar thing in the old National Highway corridor as well.
Okay.
So that's what our plan is currently.
And
If it becomes more cost-effective, now that's something that we'll continue to do, to think about how we can best provide recycling opportunities. That is something I'm a true believer of, and I spent a great deal of my career educating people on and making sure that we have programs in place to do that. So I'm committed to making sure that we have those opportunities. Curbside collections is just a very difficult approach right now for recycling.
before I sit down, I would like that gentleman to explain why the pickups were like they were, not being done early on with the customers that they had. What was the reason?
Thank you.
I mean, that's a critical
No,
question.
thank you for the opportunity. You know, the fact is that when the pandemic hit, all of the waste hauling companies had problems with labor, problems with parts coming in. There were vehicles that we had sitting because you couldn't get a simple part for months. We had vehicles that were in the shop with Nextran and the other trunk companies for months because they had no labor. They didn't have anybody to take the part from point A to point B, if they could even get it created or made in the factory. You couple that with labor issues, you don't have anybody to put out on the street, it's widespread problems when you're talking about routing.
Okay, I can respect that. I
Yeah,
mean, we
so
march
right
along
now,
and
you know,
I
just right now, what we started doing is we started carrying an extra percentage of personnel, whereas if we had a certain number of employees, we said, let's start carrying 15, 20% more, because we know that labor's a problem. So, you know, that's how we overcame that in the last year.
That's fine. And I'd like to say to you, Representative Willis, if you're going to bring us out here for this is critical and important, as you can tell. People are packed in here. Don't put a time limit on us. If we want to leave, we can leave. But let us get our questions out and get an understanding of what's going on. That's what you need to do.
Thank you, sir, for your question. The housekeeping rules was we were going to give everyone 2 minutes to ask their questions, and we want to be respectful to everyone's time here and want to give everybody an opportunity to ask questions. And so when people ask their questions, we're asking you to ask your question and then have a seat and let the next person go, because we have a lot of people here who want to get their questions answered. And I'm not here to argue. I'm not going to argue, and I ask that everybody please be respectful. I know you want your questions answered, and we're asking you to come to the mic and please ask your questions within the 2 minutes allotted and not go back and forth, but allow the questions to be answered thoroughly. That's all we have asked. Just like the same form we do in the council meeting. And the reason we have 2 minutes is because we want everybody to ask their questions. 2 minutes. Okay, thank you. Ms. Harris, thank you. Do you mind letting Ms. Harris go next and then? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Harris. I live in Montclair Estates. One of the problems that I have is this document, and it violates HIPAA laws. These documents are on the table. These medical release, I don't think should be turned over to the city. That's number one. Number two, there's going to be a cost each year for a citizen to apply for this. If a citizen is approved, I don't think that they should have to go to the doctor and experience an expense every year. Some seniors have to pay co-pays to get documents signed. So that's one thing that I'm hoping that you'll address. The other thing that I'd like you to address is you're asking seniors to pay this in advance through the tax commissioner. A lot of these seniors are on fixed incomes. I don't know whether all of the seniors can pay $230 some odd in July because they're on fixed incomes. What happens if a resident moves out of their home after 2 months? Does the tax commissioner give them a refund? Or if the trash is not picked up, what is the recourse in terms of getting a refund? Because paying in advance, in my opinion, I don't think is fair to the constituents.
Okay. Well, okay. Thank you. I know you asked a lot of questions, so please let me walk through each one, okay?
Yes.
The first question that you had was related to the application, okay? So that application is very straightforward. It is the same process as if you were to get a handicap sticker for your car. You would get a notification from your doctor that says that for that reason that you need that service. So that is the application. That is the amount of information. We will not be collecting any personal information. I don't want to know anything other than you qualify. That's it. So, and the second question is...
that wording needs to be changed because it's asking for a medical release.
It's essentially asking for the ability for the doctor to provide what's in that third box on the application.
Okay.
We're just asking for permission to do that.
And the last question, I was at one of your meetings, and the price is a good price. But after a year, I asked, would that price go up? And you, at the time, you said possibly, you didn't know. And in the meeting, you said that the increases in the RFP for inflation based on fuel increases and the consumer price index. So depending on the consumer price index, the fees could be a lot more next year.
Okay, so let me answer your question, and that's a good question. I appreciate it. And I hope I answered it the same way that I'm going to answer it now when we had the conversation before. In that $19.43 a month, we have projected out the CPI index, the Consumer Price Index, changes for 2 years. So at minimum, we should be able to provide this service at the same price to you for at least 2 years, okay? Now, I don't know what the price of fuel is going to be after that, but that's why we wanted to make sure that we got started on the right foot, okay? So the price between us and Waste Pro may change, but not the price between us and you, okay? That's the intent of that process.
And the very last question.
I'm sorry, and I'll be around to answer questions at the end.
I'm just trying to get the 2 minutes in.
And I appreciate you, but we've got to move on.
I have just one question about the liens. We want to make sure that the residents understand if these payments are not paid, that liens can be placed on their property. And that's just very disturbing to me.
I would say that it's a similar process of if you have a mechanic's lien, it's the exact same thing. They can put a lien on your house. Yes, sir.
My name is James Shelby, and I live in the cottages of Cascade, 100 Cosford Drive. And the question is, since this is a citywide program, this does not affect condos, right?
It affects condos that have roll carts. So that's the gray area. So some condominiums have what's called commercial services when you got the big 8-yard container.
No, we all have it. We live in townhomes.
So if you have individual containers, you'll be part of this process.
So, so we have to negotiate with our homeowners association management company. Is that it?
So these invoices will go to the owners of each individual unit.
Because right now we're paying through an association. We pay an association fee, and we don't pay waste services.
Understood.
So now you're saying that we have to, each individual homeowner is going to get a bill?
Each individual homeowner will get a bill. That's correct.
Is there any way we could work that out? Because we have a lot of senior citizens in our community, and I don't want them to have to worry about paying a bill. It all goes through our association. So maybe that's something that we need to look at.
I would say if they're going through the association, they're still paying that bill.
Right.
It's just the approach of how it's being paid.
Okay.
But that's the
I need to
program.
talk to somebody about that. We just need to know how that works, because I don't want individual bills going to individual homeowners.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Joyce Gordon, and I took the opportunity today to download the request for backdoor service.
Okay,
And
I think we
actually
spoke.
went through the process to make sure that I was doing, check everything that you had. This is the cost that I incurred today, just to go, set up the doctor's appointment. So I had to travel to the doctor's office. I had to pay $20 copay. Then I had to pay for the office visit. And when you asking, you did take the notary off, but didn't know that at the time. You just said that. So with the notary, I had to pay $8 out of pocket to do a notary. Then I had to pay $6 for parking. Now, I had transportation to get to and fro. What about the citizen who do not have? And you also mentioned the fact that the people that had backdoor services, people had backdoor service that they be godfathered in. So if they're godfathered in, then why do they need to go through all this?
So is a qualification.
Second question, second part of that.
Let's- Can I answer that question, please?
No,
'Cause that's an
let me
important
finish what I have to
question.
say first, please.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead. Because the second part is that, is there not some type of funding grant that the city of South Fulton can perhaps get to help those who cannot afford that $230, whatever it is, to help the seniors?
So I would say, number one, we are not the big bad bear. We're not here to take anybody's houses.
I didn't say that.
We want to make sure this service works for everybody. And that's something that we've been spending a lot of time on to consider different options. That is something we'll continue to consider as well. As far as your doctor's appointment today, and you and I had a conversation about it earlier, with that time period, grandfathering those folks in and having them do that within the first 6 months will allow them to take that application to their doctor's office when they're having a regular appointment.
I did not
and
have
just
to have a
complete it
regular
at that
appointment.
time.
I have already had my appointments for the year, so I still would have to do the same thing that I'm doing today.
Okay. Thank you.
So that's an issue.
All right. Thank you.
All right, but that's not.
We only
an
have
answer.
about 2 minutes, so I
I
want to
know,
make
but
sure
you
we get
didn't
to
answer
everybody here. Ma'am, can I help you?
Yes, thank
I
you.
have 40 seconds. So
So you have 40 seconds.
I have 40 seconds left. Answer the question.
We have a timekeeper, so I need
Yes.
you to raise your hand when we get to the 2 minutes. That seemed, go ahead, you got 40
So
seconds.
don't dismiss me.
Go ahead, ma'am.
You're dismissive. So the question again, you did not answer the question.
Which was
The
what?
first question I asked you is can there be some type of grant or funding for the seniors or whoever who needs it? And my other question to you was, if you're going to grandfather the people in, then why are they having to do this still? At a cost, not to you, but it's to the
Again,
individual person.
okay, so thank you. So again, most people have regular doctor's appointments, and we're encouraging people to take this to a
Everybody
regular
doesn't
doctor's
have
appointment.
that. I didn't have one. You're not listening.
I did. So it is something pretty straightforward.
No, you're not taking over.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my time is up, but I had the time. You didn't answer my question.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Tamu Al-Islam, and I live at 431 Winds Way. So this is about recycling, and I know you've been asked, but I have to say, and I'm going to start by assuming positive intent, but I really did find your statement that this community is less well educated about recycling to be offensive. I
apologize. I did not mean it in that way.
Yeah,
but
it
it is a learning process, and it takes time
Well,
to get used to it.
well,
So
well, see now, I think that also goes somewhat in the wrong direction, because, you know, in order to make that kind of conclusion, I would want to see some data. You know, you've told us, you've given us the rate of usage of South Fulton versus the other community that you mentioned, but I think you've made an assumption as to why that rate is. You assumed that we were less well educated about recycling. Perhaps it's something else. I just don't think that, based on what I'm hearing, enough effort has gone into
fully exploring the issue of recycling. For example, have you surveyed us to find out, to get a better sense of what the projected rate of usage might be and the reasons whether we recycle or not? How many people do? What do they recycle? How often would they like to see a service? How often do they think they might use it? Have you explored any additional, any other kinds of partnership programs with the state or federal where there might be some either subsidies or something? I mean, perhaps you've done those kinds of things, but you haven't shared any of that with us.
Okay.
So it kind of seems like you have, you know, looked at this, but made a decision that just said no recycling, and there hasn't been anything further. So, sorry?
Okay. Thank you.
Is that my time?
Yes.
So that's essentially the question.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. I want to make sure our decisions are not just, you know, made, they're based on information. So when I managed the providers in the city of South Fulton, the 9 current providers, one of the questions that we asked them was what percentage of their customer base utilize their recycling option, because that was something that we required initially. And that was partly where we came up with this. But also, again, recycling has gotten very expensive. And so we are trying to be creative about it. We're still committed to it. And it will happen, but it may not be in a form that you've seen in the past. One of the things that we benefit most from in the city of South Fulton is we have a lot of recyclers that are based in our community. And we are exploring partnerships with them to do things like recycle glass, because the largest recycler of glass in the state of Georgia is on Roosevelt Highway. So those type of partnerships and others we're looking forward to using to get to the point where we have the ability to continue to recycle material.
Will you provide us an update?
I would be happy to do that. And in addition to the old National Highway Corridor project that I mentioned earlier. Thank you. Yes?
With all the problems that we're having in South Fulton, you all seem like the most least problem that we have to address. That's one question. I live on New Hope Road. One thing I want to say is you have a lot of seniors that own their own homes. And with them owning their own homes, and they are probably over 70, they're not as versed on Instagram and Nextdoor and all that. So they don't even know, a lot of them don't even know that we are having this meeting today if they had to go on Instagram or go on Nextdoor. So you're going to have a lot of seniors that probably end up losing their homes just because of trash. Because they may not have grandchildren or somebody to come in to help them to go and file a paper, to get a paper to fill out. So they have to go to a doctor, that they have to fill out a paper so that they can get to pay a trash bill. So they'll get a lien on their house, so they'll have to pay $200 or $19 a month to pay a trash bill. So you're going to have seniors losing their home because they're going to get a lien on their house? You all going to do that to seniors? I think that's appalling to think that this city, a new city with all the problems that we're having in this city, you all going to pick trash to pick on for seniors? This is disgusting. I think you all need to find a bigger problem to work on than trash. Because we always happy with the trash people that we had. We didn't have no problem with the trash people that we had. We didn't go to any of our council people and complain about our trash problems. And if we did, we would have called the trash people.
I'm sorry, your 2 minutes are up.
My 2 minutes is up. Thank you very much. And read the Bible.
Again, this process is all because we've gotten feedback from the community, and trash has been a considerable concern. Did you have something you want to add, Councilwoman?
So if you don't mind, I've addressed this with the city manager, and what Ms. Jocelyn Gordon was trying to explain, and she had valid concerns, is that the form that she has does say that this form has to be submitted annually, and the city manager is going to address that, because once this form is submitted 6 months from the date, once they submit the form, that's it. They don't have to go through a verification process annually. The other thing is, Ms. Gordon is correct. It says, I authorize my physician and optometrist to release any information necessary to verify my disability. That is not something the city of South Fulton is going to be doing. Once they go to the doctor and the doctor signs off on this form saying that they should have curbside assistance, that's between them and their doctor. We're not going to be requesting for HIPAA information. So I want to thank.
And that's correct.
But this is what Ms. Gordon was trying to tell you. Mm-hmm. So I just want to put all of the seniors' minds at ease that once this form is submitted, and Ms. Subadan just went to talk to staff, you don't have to go through recertification every year. If you're with GFL, you will roll over for curbside. In 6 months, you submit this form. You have 6 months to submit this form because this is new for the city, but you don't have to resubmit it every year, and we will not be requesting your medical information. That's between you and your doctor. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is. Thank you, Ms. Gordon.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Salah Hilaire, and I live on Orkney Lane. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I'm here today was to find out, is this mandatory? Can I continue to use the trash company that I've been using?
Yes.
And if, I just needed a little bit more information because I didn't get that from the handout that you all sent.
Okay. I want to address one of the other questions, and it's similar to your question. We communicate on different levels because everybody receives information differently. So one of the things we've done over 25 meetings at different places throughout the city about this program. We've also done a mailer because we wanted to make sure that we capture people who would maybe not come to the meetings or weren't aware of those. And then again, we've created a comprehensive website where all the information related to this program is up there as well. I know that you said that you wanted to make sure, what are your questions about what you haven't heard about yet?
Do I have to do it? Can I continue with the
so
service
this program,
that I have? Yeah, or will there be a consequence in terms of my taxes? Can I choose to use whatever service I want to pick up my trash?
Mm-hmm. So we're going to one provider for the city for roll cart service.
Okay, so what you're stating is that now we are required to use South Fulton, period, if I have a house in South Fulton.
If it
That's
has a roll cart.
the only service I can use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that creates because it's going to come out of our taxes. That's what you're saying. Now we'll have to pay.
It's a separate bill. It's not a tax bill. It's a separate. It will not be on your property tax bill. It'll be a separate envelope. I think property taxes come out in September or October in Fulton County. This will come out in July, so it will be completely separate.
Okay. And if a household chooses not to do it, then they cannot use any other company or have that cart in their yard.
That's correct.
Okay, so this is the only choice we have,
yes.
Kind of like Atlanta. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Linda Brooks Cooper, and I live at 1515 Loch Lomond Trail. I have a couple of questions. First, I'm not sure I understand what you said about a refund from GFL. When will we be billed by the tax commissioner? If we're billed by the tax commissioner, does GFL still give us a refund? And secondly, do you want them all now, or you want to try to answer one at a time?
Let me answer the first ones there. I think if you're 1515 Loch Lomond Trail, you're probably you may be a part of our system that we have through GFL, that the city has a relationship between the two parties. So you may not qualify for a refund if that's the case there. If you do have service directly through GFL and you paid past June 1st, that's the amount that would be refunded.
I see. Okay, very good. So now the other thing is, I also have to state that when calling your office, I have called a number of times. I have emailed at least 15 times, and you have not responded either by calls or by emails. So my question is, if we go into this new service, are we going to get a better response from you, Mr. Burkett? That's number two.
I'm going to answer that question right now.
Okay.
That is an absolute yes.
Yeah, okay.
And for two reasons. So number one, the city itself is setting up a call center that goes online on Monday. We anticipate calls to jump, so we'll make sure that we have 4 people that would be devoted to answering those questions Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. In addition, Waste Pro has its call center that's going online on Monday as well. And they will, for the first 6 weeks, be open from 8 to, is it 8 to 8? 8 to 8 for the first 6 weeks of the program. Again, for the same reason, we want to make sure that you get the answers that you need.
And we hope
Okay.
that we will be able to get through to someone, because as I said, heretofore, even today, we could not get through to the city of South Fulton. But
All right.
my other question is...
I'm sorry, your time is up, ma'am. I'm sorry.
well, no, you took up some of my time in answering the questions. You're not going to get rid of me like that. The backdoor service.
Yes.
Why, you know, there should be no additional cost for backdoor service.
And that's correct. There is no additional
But
cost.
It should be just the way we have it now. You know, why do you have to fill out a form for garbage pickup? Why do you have to go to your doctor, which gives you a cost to go to your doctor, get the form filled out, and your personal information is on file at the city of South Fulton, which doesn't function anyway. But what I'm saying is that why do you have to do that? Why do you have to have a form? Why do you have to go to the doctor's office and get an affidavit for garbage pickup? And finally, I want to know, how come the mayor was not invited to this meeting? Why, how are you going to function as a city if all of you don't function together? Where is the mayor?
You want to answer that question?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Councilwoman Linda Pritchett, and I represent District 7. And I would like to address Ms. Linda, is that your name? Ms. Linda, there was a mailer that went out, and I believe most of you or all of you received it. That's why you're here. Okay, well, I'm just trying to respond and bring clarity to things. I send out a newsletter. My colleagues send out newsletters. There's a mailer that was sent. I received the mailer. Now, here's the thing. I'm trying to explain this to you. I don't work for the post office. No, I'm just explaining this. Okay, so I'm going to ask you all to allow me the courtesy of addressing what I'm trying to address. Please allow me to finish. Number one, a mailer went out. It went out. Whether you received it or not is a whole different story. There are newsletters that go out from each of the council persons. I know I send a newsletter, and the people that I send it to, whether they open it or not, but many do receive it. In addition to that, on the city's website, when you type in City of South Fulton, one of the first things that comes up is this sanitation program. Many of you do not use Instagram, Facebook, but this is what we talk about. Mr. Burkett can tell you, I've had many meetings and different events, and I've invited him to at least 4 events that I have sponsored, and this is a topic that we have talked about. Many of you in the audience have attended these events. Now, for you that have not, we're here today. So to answer your question, Ms. Linda, the mayor is aware of this event. What he chooses to participate in or not, we cannot compel him to. I'm here. Councilwoman Gums is here. Wave your hand, Councilwoman Gums. Councilman Sebastian is here, and Councilwoman Willis is here. We're here because we care about you. It doesn't mean that when someone is not here that they do not care or that we did exclude them or not exclude them. We're all here to help you. We work for you. We're here to provide you the information. And so please be respectful of Mr. Burkett, who's trying to explain to you how this is going to work. Another thing that I want to explain for the sake of clarity, although I'm the new person on the council, I was elected in December 2022. I'm not new to the city at all. I was here when the city was formed. And I remember that in the first year, well, the first few years, the city has to select mandated services that it will provide according to the Schaefer Amendment, which deals with the local action sales tax. We became a city because we wanted our fair share of the local option sales tax and the ability to make decisions about the delivery of our municipal services. We're a very large area. So one of the services that we have selected is sanitation. In the beginning, we chose to go with a free market to be able to provide you a sanitation service. I get a lot of complaints from people who their trash isn't picked up and different things. But when you have a contract between you and the trash provider, we can't get involved in those things. Now, but I'm still speaking. Please, allow me. Now, well, this is what I'm saying. Can I please finish? Oh, I can't finish. So as I was saying, this is allowing us the ability to provide you the direct service so that when there's an issue that we can directly get involved and make sure that these issues are corrected or dealt with or improved. Now, I would encourage all of you that if there's an issue that you have, please contact your council person. People in District 7 know that they have been calling me and they have been speaking to me about this. And I'm sure that my colleagues are more than happy to answer your questions and, give you personal conversation and personal time related to this issue. But please be respectful of Mr. Burkett, who's trying to answer your question. Okay? Thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Mr. Burkett,
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone, citizens of the City of South Fulton. I've been sitting here, and I just want to ask for your patience and allow staff to communicate what we're trying. No one's here to take anybody's homes, okay? No one's here to make it difficult. I'm from District 4, J.C. Sebastian. This is an issue that has been going on for a long time. About a month ago, I almost went into the community myself. I called a private contractor, and I said, if the garbage that's on the street now for 3 weeks is not gone by the morning, me and you are going out there to pick up trash tomorrow. You heard that right, 3 weeks. These are some of the problems that we have had. I have people paying up to $154 per quarter for their trash. You heard that right. Not per year, but for quarter. Okay? No, it's not their choice. Right? And the last point I'm getting to. We're in a public space, and in order for you to receive information, you have to be in a posture of listening. We want to stay here as long as it'll take, and even after the meeting is dismissed, we'll be around to answer questions. But this shouting across and shouting at people, come on now. Let us behave better than that, right? Because as you're here at your mic, if we as council members would be talking and shouting at you at the mic, then, it'll be said all over next door. WSB TV would be here, ANF would be here, and you guys would complain, which you would have a right to do. So I'm just asking you guys, we're here to conduct a meeting, to take as many questions as we can. So just let's respect each other as we're trying to communicate to each other. And that's all we're asking. We are not doing this program to hurt anyone. We are trying to roll out a basic program. And for the people who are talking about recycling, in District 4 where I am, the big green district, that's one of the things that Mr. Gordon can tell you. That was probably the more difficult conversation that we had that night, right? And what we're saying is, let's get off the ground with a more basic program. And then we figure out some of these other services that we go. But we must start somewhere. I can tell you, in Cobb County, point of order, thank you. In Cobb County, where you came from, I guarantee you, when they established their service, they did not come out of the door with recycling in place. They must have added it later. And that's all I'm going to say.
I just want to provide a response to a question, and we'll let residents continue to ask questions. The choice, many of you all are saying that you all have reliable and people had a choice. The problem that we have found is that the only sanitation company that provided citywide services was one, and that was the one that monopolized the market and price gouged many of us. Reliable does not service the entire city. It only services about 2,000 or 3,000 customers. So we could not take the position, if that was the case, and if everybody had an opportunity to use cheaper haulers, and if everybody had an opportunity to change and get better customer service, we would not be here. The decisions that we made is for the good of everybody. And if I were to take the average bill, and we've already done that analysis, majority of us are paying at least $25 a month or more, majority of us. And right now, we all are paying $19 a month. And that is a data-driven decision. Thank you. And I just wanted to provide that information to everybody. So that is why we don't have senior discounts, because the entire city, majority of us are already getting a discount at $19 a month. Majority of us are already getting a discount at $19 a month, because majority of us are paying over $25 or $25 or more a month for sanitation. Thank you.
My turn. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
My name is Dee Thomas. I am at 4388 Sublime Trail. This is my first meeting. Shame on me. I'm not going to even get into all that, and I'm not going to waste my 2 minutes on them. I'm going to let you know how it's going to go down. The lady asked a question, what happens when you move? I'm going to tell you what happens when you move, because I close loans all day, every day. When you refinance your house or you sell your house, I work for the closing attorney. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get a copy of your bill. If you sell your home, I'm going to answer the question that they didn't give you, okay? Pay attention. What happens is I'm going to get a copy of your bill. Let's say, for example, the bill's due June 1st or July 1st every year. If you sell your home before July, before that tax bill comes out, and make no mistake, that's exactly what it is. It's not a property tax, it's a solid waste tax, okay? So if you sell your house before it's due and payable, then you're gonna prorate on the closing statement to the buyer your prorated share for every day that you owned your property. Now here's the messed up part. Tax records are not updated like real estate records. Real estate records, we e-file, you're on record, new owner. Tax records don't work that way. It's not gonna happen to the following year. So if you sell your house in like March, now you got this tax bill, you put in a forwarding address, it comes to your new house. So then you're like, oh shit, this ain't mine, I don't own that house. Boom, chuck it. Now your new buyer doesn't even know. And if you're not kind enough to send it back to the house, drop it off, give it to the agent, or contact somebody like me to get it to the buyer, they don't know about it. It doesn't get paid. And I promise you and I assure you, they're gonna file a solid waste lien on your house. I see it, I clear it, and everything.
Your
Now,
time is
how
up,
long,
ma'am.
how long are they gonna give you? I don't know. I don't know. But once that happens, then a third party can come in and buy your taxes.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Angela Robinson. I live on Savannah Lane. I have been with the same waste company since 2013. They didn't miss a day. Not one day. I didn't have a complaint. I found out about the program because they told me as of June 1st, we're no longer going to be picking up your trash. I do not pay $19 a month. I pay less than that. I pay $50, $53 every 3 months. I'm very happy. I would like to just ask, my two questions are, who made the evaluation, who made up the evaluation committee? And how did the old people buy out the small people? Because my people were very dependable. I want to be happy. And I want to see if those of us that want to stay with our people, if we have to be forced, because that's called a monopoly. And I am educated, and I do know. So I want to make sure that, you know, I have a choice. Nobody asked me, nobody did a survey that I know of. They didn't ask us, the citizens, if we wanted to change. So who made up that evaluation committee? Because it wasn't us.
Thank you. Okay, so let me start with your last item first. So in terms of a survey in 2022, we started public listening sessions. We did 6, which also included a survey. I think we got close to, was it 700 responses to that? And those things are what form the basis of our RFP, okay? So that in terms of consistent quality, cost-effective service came out of that process, okay? So that did do that. How did a big buyout, you say big buyout the small?
You said that the big company bought out the small company, and that's how you chose the vendor, that they bought out.
Okay, so.
I don't know who the big company is.
So let me clarify that. And as far as since I've been here, we've not had any buyouts for any of the companies.
But you guys said that. I wrote that down.
So
You
what we've done though, I mean, when we went through our RFP process, we encouraged all of the existing providers to bid on the work. It's an RFP, and that gave them an opportunity to do that. Okay. Some decided to participate, and others did not. And Bob can tell you he has partnerships with a number of providers. I would say at least 3 of them that currently serve in the city, and that's because they had that conversation. Okay. And then the evaluation committee, I chaired the committee, and we did what's called a portion that was blind, and then we did a proposal piece. So people, again, proposed on it on certain criteria that we got from the survey, and we scored them based on that. And then at the end of that process, we then opened up the pricing and evaluated it by pricing. So those are your questions there, and I'm sure the councilwoman wants to add something.
What you were saying is that what you wrote down was that the company that controls majority of our market, over 60% of the market, how they got control of over 50% of the market is that they bought out a lot of small haulers. So you were right. That's what you were trying to say. Okay. So that's how GFL got control of over 50% of the market here in South Fulton. They brought out of a lot of small haulers, and that's how they were able to price gouge. Because if you recall, we had advanced disposal. We had a lot of them, and what they did was buy a lot of them out. Yeah.
I didn't use them.
Okay, I wanted to follow up the committee members. I was on the committee, the director of public works, and then the person that does sanitation for Fulton County. So
none of us were on that committee.
No, and this is not, you work for our money. You shouldn't be telling me how to spend my money.
You know, the community would have been a part of that evaluation. I would love to have been invited to be a part of that.
not normally what the process is for procurement, but I appreciate your input. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Good evening. I'm Connie Robinson. I live at 2805 Pondview Court. I'm actually one of the spokespeople for an HOA and Neighborhood League collaboration group. And we actually had a core team that did research to analyze other municipalities that were doing one source sanitation. And based on our city, there was no other city that equally compared apples to apples. And it appeared that one source was not the way that this city should go. And we presented that to the city council, which some expressed they had not seen that report. So I just wanted to make mention of that the information that was going forward, the ones that were making the decisions apparently did not see it. So that's just on that part. And then with the HOAs, there are some communities that are gated, and their vendors are telling them that because they own their streets, that they don't have to comply with this new service. But we're hearing differently that they do. But why isn't that being communicated to those gated communities from the city? Two, those with clubhouses. We heard that the city receptacles are being serviced. Well, many of our clubhouses are complimentary serviced by our trash vendors because they're servicing our communities. So they complimentary pick up the trash at our clubhouses. And now we're being told we have to reach out to Waste Pro and make those connections ourselves. Then again, we're also hearing all of these cost projections and how much you all are saving us, but we're not hearing the apple-to-apple comparisons saying we looked at one trash receptacle and this is what people are paying. We're just hearing, oh, people are paying this amount or that amount, but you also know you don't provide recycling. We're talking about the other services that are being cut out that are not included in this so-called better price, you know, but we know once those entities get factored in, then the price is going up.
So I want to make sure I'm clear here. So our program includes every house that's got a roll cart in the city of South Fulton, and that's if you've got a gated community or not. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that. And in terms of how to do an apples-to-apples comparison, I mean, again, we did look at what's going on in the market, and you know, I talk to just about every provider in the city just about every day. So there is some variation, and there's some great variation. And one of the concerns that came out of the survey process, again, was that consistent pricing issue. So that's, again, part of what we're solving here as well. Okay.
And you mentioned the trash being picked up along the streets, the miles of streets that are being serviced, but isn't that already being serviced by our tax dollars? Like, why are we being double taxed by having this included in this amount we're paying now that we're going to be paying in June?
So you won't be double taxed for it. It's moving off of the tax fund. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lisa Cooper, and I live on Subline Trail. Surely there has to be some financial benefit. Surely there has to be some financial benefit for the city of South Fulton County to merge into this. So what is going to be done with the excess funds that is collected?
So the question is, are we financially benefiting from this?
Yes.
So I would say from a service perspective, we are. And we talked about the services that are going to be paid for from this program. In terms of a profit, we're not making a profit off of this, but we're improving services. That's what we're doing.
Because I didn't have a problem paying for my service because it was good. I don't want to go to something that's I'm gonna be stuck paying for it, but then my service is gonna be garbage.
Well, okay, so I know a lot of people are concerned about the quality of the service, and I want to make sure that we're clear here as well. So we're very aware of that. The challenge is when service is not provided in a timely manner. So we spent quite a bit of time doing the contract with Waste Pro to make sure that we have a scale of basically fines. So if they do not perform to the expectation that the city has established with them, that we will fine them and some of them are based on a unit of a house, but also it puts a time amount on it as well. So if your home is not serviced for whatever reason, you can use that QR code and go on there and report that your service was not provided. That starts the clock. They will have 48 hours to make your wrong right, okay? After that, for each home that they have not serviced, there will be a fine of $25 for the first 10 homes. And after that, it's $50 per home. There's also a fine associated with, because it's very common, spilling what we call garbage juice in the neighborhood. There's an automatic fine for that. That's a critical function that we weren't able to do before because we couldn't necessarily track the company that was responsible for that. So that's an improvement as well. You know, we've all had a various time in terms of having challenged services. We want to make sure that we have the highest quality service possible for each citizen in the city, and we hold accountable our vendor. Last but not least, our agreement is 4 years, but it's 1 year with 3 one-year renewals, okay? Why is that important? Because that gives us an opportunity, if we're not satisfied with the services that have been provided, that we can find someone else to provide that service. So I hear your concerns, and I want to make sure you understand that those are important to us, and that we, to the best of our abilities, included that in our approach with Waste Pro, so that there are no misunderstandings on what we expect. Okay? Thank you. Yes.
Yes, Thomas Tagoff from Highland Lake, and the lady before me had some of my questions, but they were never answered. One of the questions that she brought up was, when you have a common area in your HOA, you know, it was a courtesy that our trash was picked up for doing business in our area. We did not receive a message, that I know of a billing of us having new service from our common area. What is the way to make a contact for that area? How is that going to be treated? Okay. That's my first question.
All right, so I want to make sure I answer that question. I don't want to miss it. So the question is, how do you get service for common areas for your HOA? All right, so on our website, again, that you can reach through the QR code, there's an area on there that homeowner associations can put their requests in today to make sure that they get containers for common areas, pools, clubhouses, mail areas, et cetera, where they would like to have that kind of container. That cost would be $20 per container per month. That's the program. And I like that, you know, you had a program before, but it's still being paid for. It's just wrapped into the rest of the system. So that's our approach. Again, our approach was to make sure that for the vast majority of the citizens that we have, that we gave them
but just for clarification, but just for clarification, when you have a management company that handle all that billing, are they the ones that's supposed to put that information in?
So are you talking about in terms of the requesting the containers? Yes. Or if you have somebody, you know, normally you have a president of an HOA or something to that effect. It all depends on your HOA, how it operates. But that form is online, and that information is shared directly with Waste Pro, and then we'll establish the service for you.
Last question to this quickly is,
yes.
Now you mentioned about picking up your old receptacle. Now, if the old provider does not pick up his receptacle, who's responsible for it?
We'll make sure that we hold that vendor responsible for it. They actually own those containers today, so it is their responsibility to pick them up. We're coordinating our efforts with GFL. They're using the same provider as Waste Pro is using to distribute the containers. But each other smaller vendor is doing it in different ways. But with each one, we are going to hold them accountable. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is R.D.W. Jackson. I live on Skyview. And I'm wondering why, just like Greystone, at the end of the year, they send me a check. Y'all recycling, y'all taking our money and making money off of it. If people have been out here for 25 years, what do you think they need y'all for? Before y'all came out here, we did our own trash. I mean, and then a lot of people own businesses, so they take their things to their business. But we don't need y'all. That's all I have to say.
Okay. I appreciate your sharing. What I would say is this area is very different than it was 25 years ago. And things are handled different when you have less people. We've got more people, so the impact is bigger. And we want to make sure that we're providing the cleanest, most attractive areas possible. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Rashard Snellings, 1980 Loch Lomond Trail. I'm in District 1. I was on that first call that the city did, and the community overwhelmingly said we didn't want this. Can you just state for the record, on those surveys that you sent out, was the question asked, do we want this service? Can you just answer that question?
So that survey was taken before my time, but my understanding is that those core items that came out of that survey process that I'd be happy to share with you, formatted, became what we used to create our RFP.
So it was never asked if we want this, you just assumed that we wanted it?
My understanding is that one of the core questions was to have one place if a problem came up. That was a very strong response on that survey.
But
I'd
that's
be
not
happy to
asking
give
us
you
if we
that.
want it, though.
I'm sorry?
That's not asking us if we want it. Also, why wasn't this put on a ballot for us to vote on this?
I don't, do one of you want to?
Yeah.
Come on. Don't get her going.
This is a city service mandated by the charter for us to provide, and this does not go on the ballot.
All right, but we have a city service that we were fine with, so.
And so what I will say to you, Mr. Snelling, is that we are a city divided. It depends on what side of the city you go to on whether or not they want the service or not. And so we can't make everybody happy. We can't. But what we have to do is make decisions for the good of all. If you go on Loch Lomond's side, they don't want it. But then I won't go there, but I will say that GFL did a query, and while we're going this way with collection, GFL did a query on their system, and what they found is that they had a lot of bad debt. They had people who were getting sanitation service and were not paying for their sanitation service. So when we decided to go this route, you had GFL, instead of doing what they were normally doing, allowing people to catch up and, go 30 to 60 days behind, what happened is they started picking up people's trash cans for delinquencies. And when our city inquired about how many delinquencies they had over 4,000 people who were 30 to 60 days delinquent. Now, you had some mishaps where people weren't delinquent, and they had to return those trash cans. But what GFL did was make a business decision, and they didn't want to be left with a lot of bad debt. So they felt like if they picked up people's trash cans, that will make people, catch up on their sanitation bill. And so it depends on, and that was the reason they said that they price gouge some of us. That's why the cost went up every year, because we were essentially paying for people, that wasn't paying for their trash sanitation bill, that wasn't paying their sanitation bills. Now, that was one of the reasons they said they were going up every year. But I know my service went from $58 to $80. And, we just can't have a company come into our city, get majority of our business, and continue to price gouge our residents every year. We just can't.
And then lastly, Mr. Burkett has spoke about penalties that are assessed to Waste Pro. why is it that we're stuck with the trash that didn't get picked up, but the city gets to keep the penalty? Why is that?
Thank you. So you're not going to be stuck with the trash. It's not going to be picked up. If they don't pick up the trash within 48 hours, then they're penalized. Is Mr. Toms here? Because he did and I want this because this question keeps coming up, because people are thinking that we are profiting off of sanitation, and we're not. We're not in the business for profit. Is Mr. Toms still here? Okay, because I want him to come, if you don't mind, Ms. Sabadan, because he did they keep asking this question, and he did a breakdown of how we came up with $19 a month and what goes into that $19
All right, that wasn't my question.
Yeah, that is.
That was not the question.
Okay,
the question was, if my trash does not get picked up and I'm stuck with the trash, why does the city keep the penalty that comes from Waste Pro?
And that's what I'm getting Mr. Toms to explain.
Okay.
Thank you. You have another question? Because while he's coming up, we'll be happy to.
Yeah.
Mr. Toms, can you explain, the question was, if the trash service is not picked up, then we are penalizing the vendor for not picking up trash. And the customers are asking, the constituents are asking, why isn't the penalty going back to the residents versus the city? And when I asked you that question, you did a very thorough explanation of how much why that decision was made, that we don't send the money back to the resident and the money comes to the city whenever there's a penalty. And it had to do with the cost of what we're really paying, the administrative costs. Can you please approach us? Because they keep asking Mr. Birdcat the question, and he's not thoroughly explaining it. But it was thoroughly explained to me when we asked the question.
I'm waiting for this.
And just to be clear, you do have a slide?
Yes.
And can you please pull the slide up? Because the question was asked like 4 times.
So it's the slide with the 12 units on it.
And Mr. Combs, can you please come explain it? I'm going to move out the way and let him explain. I just wanted to make sure that you all got the answer, because it's been asked 4 times, and I just want you all to make sure. I just want it to be explained, okay? Thank you.
So I just wanted to clarify. So the question is on the penalty. So anytime there's an enforcement action, there is a penalty. Within the 48 hours, I believe the service that we've seen is about 98% compliance on that. That our number one goal is not the penalty, it is the service. We want to make sure that once you contact us and let us know that your service has not been picked up, that we then use every means necessary, which is additional administrative fees, legal fees, things like that, to make sure that they comply with that. And that is the purpose of a large contract. It's the volume, because when you're a one-off and you're paying $20, $19, $14, you're one customer. When you have 40,000 residents part of this program, that's a large contract. So we have more buying power or motivation power to compel them to do their job. We also have additional services in the sense that if it's not picked up and we're not able to get them to do it, we have the ability to send out our own crew to get out there and pick it up. Again, what we're hoping for is the 100% compliance. So it's not that we're getting $50 and then we're just holding on and squirreling that money away. There's a lot to go into to make sure that your service is picked up, and your service may be picked up on a Saturday if you're missed on a Friday. So we're doing everything we can to get the service done.
It didn't answer the question, but thank you.
I apologize, Rashard.
I'm going to be short. My name is Tom Koch. I'm the token white guy on Tawanda Drive. And the good news is the Braves are up 8-2 in the bottom of the third. So we don't have to get in a hurry. Question I have, how many people in this audience have a handicap sticker for their car? Yeah, we already had to go through that to get that thing from the state that says, hey, I'm handicapped, give me a handicap sticker. Why don't you accept that instead of going to the doctor? Simple enough. I know you want me to run for office, and I'm not doing it.
Well, again, we're trying to make this as simple as possible. This is a very expensive service. We want to make sure it's available, but to those people who need it especially. And
you submitted that through Department of Motor Vehicle. That's a completely different division. You didn't send that
They
information.
still certified it. It took a doctor to say
Right.
that I'm handicapped and I needed to park farther away. That's the same question. I'm handicapped. I can't pull my thing down the big driveway.
Yes, Mr. Tom, but that's still with Department of Motor Vehicle. We don't have that.
Y'all are talking politics instead of what makes sense.
Okay. Yes, we're going to take that under consideration, sir. You made a good point. Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Robinson, and I live in Kenwood Trail. I have a slightly different problem from what has been discussed so far. We have several homes that are owned by the syndicate that rents homes. One company owns 4. Now, my question is the bill going to be attached to the home as opposed to the tenant?
That's it? Okay.
Well,
so the answer is...
The reason I'm really interested in this, we have one tenant who doesn't have service. And every week he puts his trash out. His trash bin has been on the curb for the last 5 weeks, and every so often he adds more trash to it. Besides, there's trash piling up in front of his house, and we can't seem to get him to do anything about it. For that matter, I can't get code enforcement to do anything about it, or the company that owns the house. So for the last 2 years, I've been taking pictures, writing letters, and getting my neighbors to complain. Nothing.
Okay. So we're going to get your information, sir, to make sure that we address your issue, but I want to answer your question, too. So we're holding property owners responsible for that. Tenants come and go. I know sometimes they move in, 1 month, they stay a month, and then they get put out that 3rd month. It happens, and a lot of times those situations, we don't have service there. Everybody needs to have service because everybody's generating some level of garbage, and that material needs to be collected. So we want to make sure that we're holding everybody accountable and make sure that your neighbor has the appropriate service. And if he's or she is a renter, we'll make sure that happens on the property owner side, and then they can negotiate how that's paid for in their agreement. All right, thank you. Yes.
My name is Will Johnson. I live in Vermont Estates, which is right off of, right in the Red Oak area. I had 6 questions, but 3 of them got answered, so I just want to ask the last 3. If the cart is damaged, who's going to pay for that?
Waste Pro is going to answer that question directly. Come on up.
If it's damaged by regular wear and tear, the trucks, all that, we're going to replace it.
Okay.
If you put off fireworks in it, burn it down or whatever, you got to pay for that.
I understand that. Okay. Is there some way to notify us when trash will not be picked up, either due to inclement weather or whatever happens? Where would I find that information? Take in mind that not everybody has internet access or newspapers or texts, whatever. So how would I find that out?
Okay, so I'll say two things. So I think that's a great idea. I believe we have the capability of doing reverse 911 is what I believe it is, and I'll look at that. If that's a possibility, we'll definitely consider it in there. I think that's a good thing. The other thing is the other effect of when service would not be provided would be holidays. Okay, our agreement calls for 4 holidays a year, which the first one coming up is going to be July 4th. It's New Year's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and I'm missing one, Independence Day. So it's 4 holidays per year. When you go on the map to look up your address, if you want to do that, or if you go just to the website, it'll have that information on there. But every day, you know, so if you're that on a Thursday and the holidays on a Thursday, like Thanksgiving, your service would happen on that Friday, and then Friday's service would happen on Saturday.
Okay.
So that answers the holiday question, but I like your question about the inclement weather, and that's something that I'm sure we can come up with some good answers for.
All right. Last question. I have recycling service right now. But now that that's going away, that's going to increase my number of containers that I have to have. So what is the cost of that additional container?
So for your home,
Yes.
that would be $10.17 per month. The core service is in the agreement and the invoice that you would receive from the tax commissioner. If you'd like that second container, you would actually contract directly with Waste Pro to do that, but you would access that through our website.
Okay, and that cost is?
$10.17 per month, per container. So you can have 3. Again, it would be 3 times $10.17.
In the meantime, I can take my recycled material over to Merck Road?
Yes. So Merck
They're going to
Miles.
charge me for that because they don't right now.
Right, and that's going to continue. So we currently recycle 15 materials that don't charge there, and there are some items that we do recycle there as well for a small fee, and we'll continue to do that. That's a core thing for us, and we want to continue to expand recycling options as well. So we'll be continuing to see what we're going to do to do the same thing in the Old National Highway corridor as well.
Okay, and I just thought of one last question. I get my yard, cut my grass every 2 weeks, and I don't just cut it and let it fall down because it kills my grass. So I pick it up. What about that service? I heard you mention that you did provide it, but at what cost?
So there's 2 different ways for that. You want to speak to that?
Okay, so what we would call a subscription yard waste service, we come every week and we pick up yard waste. That is an added service that you can contract with us. I believe it's $28 a month. But what you can do is if it fits in your garbage can, because we collect whatever's in the garbage can. If you can fit it in the garbage can, or however number of garbage cans you have, then we'll collect it that way too.
Okay.
So, and you know, just the cost of that added service, what you have to understand is not everybody in town is going to subscribe to that. It's going to be very few people. That route still has to run for the people that do want it. That's why it's so expensive. There may be 300-400 people that want it out of 40,000. It still has a cost to run that route. We still have to start that truck up, put a guy in it, insure it, and send him out to pick that yard waste up, and that's why it's so expensive. It's not everybody in town getting it. So.
All right, thank you.
D. Thomas, 4388 Sublime Trail. To answer that gentleman's question in the back, they're not going to give you nothing. If there's a service lapse, they already told you it's going to take 48 hours, you ain't getting jack, period. I'm not going to get jack. I don't think that's fair. I'm the one that incurred the loss. My, excuse me, my HOA, real strict about leaving cans on the curb. After trash day, you need to get them in the back. I can't wait 2 days. If I lose internet and I call my internet company, they credit me for my loss. It's not fair. I mean, I get it. I dig it. You're charging money and for your administrative fees. All of y'all are part of these administrative fees tonight. But I feel like not only am I forced to have to go through this, it's costing me more. If there's a service fail, then I have to hope that I can get through to let somebody know that my trash wasn't picked up or whatever the service fail was. And then you tell me, basically, I don't get anything. I get to wait maybe 48 hours while I take the chance of not getting fined by my HOA because my can's still sitting there. And now I have even more trash out there piled up on top that is probably not going to fit in the can. And now with little animals running around, now they done dug in it. I got to take the time to clean it up, but I'm not going to get anything. That, to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just wanted to say that, no, sir, you're not going to get nothing. I answered your question for you. Thank you.
So I do want to respond about the HOA. I live in an HOA as well, and before you're fined, they typically send you a letter. And if you're fined because, I would say this, if you are fined because an error on our part or mistrust on our part, and if the HOA fines you because the sanitation company that we have procured to provide sanitation, and they miss your trash and you're fined because of that by your HOA, please contact your council person directly, because I will make sure you will not have to pay that fine. I'm just saying, if that happens, you shouldn't have to get the letter, and I don't want you to get the letter, because we are paying this company to provide we're paying this vendor to provide stellar customer service, and we don't want them to miss trash. We don't want them to be fined for missing trash. And quite frankly, if they have a huge missed trash pickup and they're fined severely, it impacts their bottom line. So they're going to make sure, I'm told they're going to have cameras on these trucks. They're going to make sure they do their due diligence. But to say that any business is going to be perfect, then we all will sit here and lie. We are doing everything in our power as this council to work with our city manager and her staff to make sure that this service is provided to you and is stellar, and that if it's a problem, there is a scan on top of the trash can that you can scan and report the problem. There's also a phone number that you can call. Not any of us on the city council is rolling out a service to this city that we don't feel is going to be for the good of all. Will we have missteps? Will there be some missteps? Yes, because none of us are perfect. But if we find that we did something wrong, you will not be penalized for that. That I can promise you. And can I promise that, Mr. City Manager, if we find that we did something wrong, you will not be penalized for that.
But the bill's still going to be the same. You still don't get nothing.
Okay, they've asked me to speak a little bit about the service process. First of all, the 48 hours is just a contractual benchmark as to when the city would be able to fine our company. By and large, most of the time, we have gotten back to somebody who says that they were missed within 24 hours. Most of the time, that's true. All of my trucks have GPS and camera systems all the way around. As soon as I get notice that somebody says their garbage was missed, we almost know immediately what happened, because we can go right to the computer and we can look in those cameras. We can see the yard as the truck approached. We'll know if we missed it, and we'll be there. We usually get it done within 24 hours. The 48 hours is just a benchmark for fines. Okay, we intend to respond to your complaint or request much faster than that. The other thing is, if let's just say for some crazy reason that you put the garbage out on Monday, and let's say it doesn't get picked up, and we come back the next Monday, well, we're going to pick it up. It's going to get picked up. You're not stuck with that garbage. we will end up with that garbage. Whether it's in 24 hours or the next, whenever it is, we will get it. So, as far as the money and the fines,
And one thing else I would add, again, they get a monthly batting average from us that's managed by a third party. So when you make that complaint, that's when the clock starts ticking. And it's not just necessarily the time that that problem is solved in, but that that problem happened at all. And that's the information that we would look at and consider going forward when we go through that renewal period. It gives us an opportunity, if the service is not to the level that we would like it to be, to make a change. Okay? Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Conchita Plater, and I'm in the Indian Pond subdivision. So, you talked about picking up and dropping off bins. You said that your current provider is going to pick up your bin, okay? So how do we know when to leave it? I mean, are they gonna come and pick it up from the curbside? I mean, do what you call in curbside pickup? Or do we know when to leave it down there for them to get it?
So each provider will coordinate with their customer base to have that container picked up after the last service date before June 1st.
Okay, I'm a special case, so I guess I'll talk to you specially.
Okay.
Now, especially now? Okay. So I thought I was moving, so I really had canceled my service, okay?
Okay.
And they never did pick up my bin. I didn't move, but that's okay. I mean, I've been taking care of my own trash. I just take it to somebody else at City of Atlanta. But anyway, I take it somewhere else, and I'm handling my own trash. I mean, I don't need it picked up every week anyway. So every other week, every 3 weeks, I'm good. So I don't know if they're gonna pick up my bin or not. I mean, you got any?
Okay, so I'm happy to, if they're a vendor that I'm familiar with, or I'm sure they are, I am, I'd be happy to contact them on your behalf to make sure that container is picked up.
Okay, and so you're gonna drop off the bins, you said between the 8th of this month and?
Between May 8th and May 31st.
And where are you gonna put them?
So we would ask that you put them in a similar place where you keep them now. It will have a sticker on the lid, so it will say, please do not use before June 1st on there. So, because I know sometimes I'm just gonna put stuff in there, so it'll be sealed up, and then we'll make the switch out.
But when you drop them off, are you dropping them off at the curb, or are you doing quote-unquote curbside drop-off?
They'll be placed, I would assume, where on the curb.
Okay. So previously, I know I read that for curbside pickup was available for seniors and disabled. It didn't say disabled seniors. It says seniors and disabled. So now this is the first I'm hearing that you got to only be disabled, or that's the only way you can get it is to be disabled, not the fact that you're a senior and you have a problem getting to and from or whatever. So are we able to go back to that, or you've changed your mind, or what's up with that?
So these programs are based on the ability to get the container to the curb. We want to make sure that everybody receives service. So that's how the program is based. So if you have that issue and you're 18 years old and you have a home, or you're 80 years old, we want to make sure that we're able to service that house. And if there's that minor additional service that we call backdoor service is needed, then that's what it is.
Okay, so then it should have just said disabled. It shouldn't have said seniors and disabled. It should have just said disabled.
Yes.
Okay. And as people were bringing up the fact that it costs, which is nothing I thought about, period. And you made the assumption that, okay, everybody's gonna have a doctor's appointment. And even if that assumption was true, the year's half over. I already had my doctor's appointment, okay, as many others have. So yes, if it's a cost, it's still gonna be that cost for us to still go, et cetera, et cetera. And as they said, everybody was saying it's really not a good thing. Okay.
I think your time is up, timekeeper.
I mean, you hadn't been timing other folks here.
I will be here, so as soon as we're finished, I'd be happy to answer any question that you have.
I just had two more things.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move on.
I want to say the recycling is at Greenbrier Mall, the third Saturday of every month. Okay? And, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Catherine Burley, and my address is 4966 Burberry Way in the Town Creek subdivision. I am a senior, but I am also a licensed practicing physician. And one of the questions that I had was about the form. For those people who are going to need the backdoor service, you have two lines. One is for whether or not it's a temporary disability. If it is, you're asking for a timeline, or if it's permanent. If it is a temporary disability, let's say it's only going to last 5 or 6 months, are you going to require that individual to come back and to be reevaluated, fill out another form? How's that going to work?
I think tonight we actually have modified that form so that should not be an issue at all.
So it shouldn't be a temporary or a permanent choice?
Once you qualify, you qualify.
Okay, all right. I also am a recycler. I am computer literate, and I have to say that I live in the south end of Fulton County because I like the slower pace, the lifestyle. So to characterize us either directly or indirectly as functionally illiterate and not knowing what's going on, I take offense at that. So,
and I apologize. That was not my intent.
I'm sure, but I mean, that's the way it came across. So
Okay.
If I don't have to recertify anybody, I'm good. Now, as far as making an additional doctor's appointment, I can tell you in my own practice, if you have an appointment already and you have the form, we do it all at one fell swoop. So, you know,
Yes.
I'm just saying.
And we appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Good
Yes.
evening. My name is Teresa Pierre. I
Good
live in
afternoon.
Walden Park. I just kind of feel like because this has been thrown at us, and for many, this is our first time being able to voice our concerns and just sitting and listening. I'm gonna be honest, I'm with the higher people. So this is a benefit for me, right? Because I'm gonna be paying less. But just sitting tonight, hearing our seniors talk and, you know, other people talk about the issues, I'm very concerned. I'm not just here for me. I am gonna benefit. I am gonna pay less, most likely. I'm happy about it. But to hear that something can happen to my seniors, the lady who lives 3 doors up from me, I'm pissed off about that. This is the first time that we've been able to sit here and tell you guys what it is. You guys made this decision not hearing from us. You've heard from us. We don't like it, but we gotta do it. We're gonna do it. You said that you're with Waste Pro for a 4-year contract. Is there gonna be an opportunity for us to come back and do this again and say, listen, Waste Pro didn't do this, or we don't like this, or there has to be a review at some point, because at the end of the day, you guys have forced us to do this. It's our money, but we have to pay for this, you know, and standing in line, I'm a person with 2 trash cans. So I'll have one bill from the city, and then I gotta go to Waste Pro now and get another bill for my second trash can. So I gotta pay attention to 2 bills now. I mean, it's not convenient. You know, there needs to be a lot of note-taking, because I took a lot of notes tonight on my phone just about what my neighbors have been saying. We don't like it. We don't want it. We gotta do it. We're gonna do it, but you guys need to listen and come back and see how we can make it better, because we are committed to this for the next 4, 3, whatever many years. That's
All right.
it.
Thank you. So you made some good points. I will say again, it's not just a 4-year contract. It's 4 years, 1 year with 3 one-year renewals, which means each year we have the ability to look at the contract. And we asked the question earlier, you know, what happens in that 48-hour time period, and we talked about the batting average. So that is something that we're also going to consider in that process to make sure that we are going in the right direction, that we have the service that we're looking for. 2 bills, I understand your concern about that. Again, we have a vast diversity of housing choices in the city of South Fulton. I'm proud to say that. You can own a horse, okay? But you can also live in a condo. all right? And we wanted to make sure the service appealed to all those groups, the core service. And again, with the ability, if you are interested, to contract and get those additional services that you need. So for you, I guess that would be the second container. Again, and making sure that everything is cost effective as possible. Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm John Taylor. I'm the HOA president for Cambridge Meadows subdivision. Hello, how you doing? I would like to ask, sir, what is the plan for people that's being deployed? I have members in my community that's been deployed and they haven't been home in years. 2 years, 3 years. My next door neighbor will be deployed 2 years. Is there any waiver they could fill out to be dismissed from this for their deployment time?
Don Toms is going to answer that question for you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We did put something in our city ordinance that directly responds to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question was, it was asked by one male. He was talking about the handicap tag. Does that not play a part so the senior citizens don't have to come and, get another choice again, another?
So what we said then was we thought it was a good idea and it was something that we would do further deliberations on to make sure if it fits, it fits,
All right, thank you.
So it was a good answer. Yes?
Yes, my name's Mike Edwards. I live at the 1175 Apollo. I got a two-part question for you, and both of them are financially grounded. You made a comment earlier relative to the cost of rollaways at clubhouses and so forth, $20 a pop. Now, you say if I've got 3 rollaways at a clubhouse, that's $60 per month. On a 12-month period, that's $720. Okay. Your leading statement was that you're not in this for profit, but to benefit the constituents of the city of South Fulton, correct? Okay. Now let's speak hypothetically here a little bit. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are actually the only line items there that are relative to this waste management program of yours. My question is, mowing lawns, street sweeping, how is that relevant to trash pickup? Now, hypothetically, say you got 44,000 households in the city of South Fulton. On average, they're being charged $19.43. Okay? $14.65 of that, let's just say, is going to you, and the other $4.78 is going to the city of South Fulton. Okay. That comes up to $210,000, $210,320 a month, for a grand total of $2.5 million a year. You guys say you're not in this for profit. Numbers don't lie.
Okay. All right. I'd like to answer your first question about roll-offs at the clubhouse. So the distinction is that your clubhouse would contract directly with Waste Pro for that service. So what that relationship is that relationship between them. So
I understand all of that, but
okay.
What I'm talking about is dollars. You're giving me a political explanation. I'm talking about the dollars.
Okay. I want to finish answering your questions. Again, all the things that are up here are the core items that make clean, attractive public spaces. They protect water quality, they protect air quality, they protect property values. And we want to make sure that our citizens enjoy quality, clean communities. It's as simple as that. And that's what the program's about.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, wait, don't dismiss
Actually,
me now.
your time's up, I'm sorry.
Okay, but just a second. Just hold that. You said just a second ago that your goal is to service the citizens of South Fulton and provide a clean neighborhood and so forth for them, right? Okay. but you got all these different line items here that don't back that up. And furthermore, if that's truly what your intention was, wouldn't it be, should I say, agreeable to get their opinions before you incorporated this new?
Good evening, sir. In my district, which is the tail end of Old National, and Old National altogether, we have a big problem with litter, a huge problem. I get calls all the time. Code enforcement gets calls, public work gets calls. I see stuff that I report on See Click Fix. One of the solutions that I even came up with talking to Mr. Valenzuela, our public works director, was, hey, can we hire some people that'll be dedicated people to pick up litter on the side of the street? So understand what I'm saying. People decide they're gonna throw stuff on the side of the street, and then they expect the city to come behind them and pick it up as if we're just a valet service. Now, I wanna keep our streets clean, but let me explain to you what the cost for that is. For 6 dedicated people to pick up litter within our entire city would cost approximately $350,000. Now, you're talking about dollars and cents. On Old National, I'm sorry to tell you, we need some sweet street sweepers. People throw, I've cleaned up trash, and the majority of the council has, on our community cleanups. I have found diapers, chicken wings, condoms, beer bottles, guns, and all kind of stuff that you would not imagine. And some of that stuff actually prevents us from having clear drainage. So the street sweeper, those ain't free. Everything on that list, nothing of it is free. I can't tell you what the cost of a street sweeper is, but it's high. I saw it yesterday. We have a few of them. The mowing program, we have a company that we're contracted with. On Old National, if you live off of Old National, you can agree that it's looking better because the company's coming out and they're on a regular schedule and they are mowing the right-of-way all throughout the entire city. We have a lot of grass. The litter program, it's all included. So when you clean up all that debris and all these things that I've just described, it has to go somewhere. You know where it goes? They got to come pick it up and put it somewhere.
I'm not disputing any of that, ma'am.
The dead animal services, a lot, even just the servicing of receptacles, those costs, I'm sure that someone in Public Works can go over the details of what those costs are. They're very high. And we're not profiting from it. If anything, to be honest, we would do better. We honestly would do better if not even just our citizens, the people that come in and out of our city would stop littering and stop illegally dumping in our city. But it costs. There's a cost associated to that. I hope that that helped answer your question, and I'll be glad to speak to you afterwards.
Actually, it didn't, but I'm good.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is John Quick, and I live at 4205 Spurgeon Road. And I just want some clarification on the penalty if we don't decide to do this. What is the penalty?
In terms of not accepting the container or?
Not accepting the service. I find my service, I do my own, whatever I want to do. What is the penalty if I don't do what you want or do this program? What is the penalty?
Okay, so the question is, if you don't participate, what's the penalty?
Right.
I got you. Each home in the system, if you qualify for a roll cart, will be assessed the fee. I guess that would be considered a penalty if you don't use it. That's the $233.14 a year. Yes, each home in the system that qualifies for a roll cart is going to be required to have that roll cart. Yes, it's a mandatory program, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Lee, and I live off of Old National Highway in the Pointer Ridge subdivision. And my question is, I I'm paid up with Waste Industries, and my bill is due May 7th. And I did go online to pay it on May 7th, but it seems that they've cut that off, so I'm unable to do that. So am I to say that we no longer have Waste Industries, right?
So
GFL, we no
Waste
longer.
Industries was purchased by GFL.
Okay.
So you may have a Waste Industries container,
No,
but it's
GFL.
serviced by GFL.
I'm sorry, I meant GFL.
It's okay.
Okay, so I was paid up with them, and so my bill is now due May 7th. So I went online for GFL to pay, but it seems that they've cut that off, so I was unable to pay. So we no longer have them anymore, is that right?
So if your bill is due May 7th, and for whatever reason you can't pay it, I'm happy to reach out to them on your behalf. I do it every day, and we can
Okay,
settle
I can
up.
call them to see if they will accept my payment. I just want to make sure, since this service that we have or we're getting,
Yes.
it's going to start when again?
It will start June 1st.
Okay,
So
so-
we're asking everybody to keep their existing service through May 31st.
Okay, so I need to stay with them until June 1st. Okay, I just want to make sure I have pickup for the rest of this month.
And we want to make sure you do as well, yes.
Okay. Now, with GFL, I am very tired of them going up on my bill. I'm very tired of that. So I went online and I did some research about GFL. And they purchase a lot of different garbage pickup companies, but they don't check them to see what debt these companies have before they purchase them, because they're trying to monopolize and be the largest company there is to pick up garbage. I don't know if it's only in the South Fulton County, but to pick up garbage everywhere. So for that reason, they did end up with a lot of debt, a lot of debt. I read it online, and that is the reason why they were continuously going up on my bill. So if what is being done is going to discontinue my bill for my garbage being picked up, then I am for that. But I'm not really understanding about, so there's going to be an extra fee if they pick up like trash and debris. Is there going to be an extra fee for that or no?
So
Okay.
everything is included, and then the other services are being provided by
So
the
if I
city.
have limbs or something that I pull out to the street, that's included in my pickup?
You have a certain bulky collection, but there is a service that you can opt into for tree debris
Okay,
directly from Waste Pro.
okay,
All right. Or you can put it in your garbage
Yeah.
can, exactly.
okay,
Thank you very much.
okay. All right,
All right.
thank you, that's all I had.
Yes.
Okay, my question is not for you. I've no disrespect.
Okay.
It's for Waste Pro.
Come on up.
I need for you. I'm sorry. 670 Timber Grove Drive. My question for you, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
My name's Bob Walk.
Bob Walton?
Walk.
Walk. Okay. Mr. Walk,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a customer of Waste Pro. You all said that people who are already with Waste Pro that get the backdoor service, we get to keep it, correct? We're grandfathered in.
They may have said that. I didn't say that. But that's a decision for the city to make. not
Excuse
for-
me. Is it true that the people that are already with Waste Pro, with the backdoor service, we are grandfathered in?
Yes.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Now, what I need to know, since we're grandfathered in, since you all come up with this new thing about signing up every year or whatever, me being grandfathered in, does that mean that I don't have to do it year after year after year? I'm in it for the duration of this
Yes.
with you.
Yes.
Good.
So we will be taking our orders and directives from the boss, which is the city and the citizens. So when they give us the list and say, these are our non-curbside people, that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
So you're on the list.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to wrap up after these three folks here. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm
Hi,
sorry.
my
Yes,
name is
go ahead.
Lily Andrews, and I'm in the Sandtown subdivision. My question is, the young man mentioned there was a waiver for deployment. Is there a medical waiver? If you got a medical condition or service or something like that, is there something listed under your waiver to cover that as well?
No, so the waiver is if no one's living in the house for a certain period of time, then we will wind up crediting.
So if you had a medical condition and you was out of your house or hospitalized for a certain time, there's nothing to cover you?
Yeah, it's not just for military, it's for anyone not living there for a certain
Yeah, I get that part, but if you got a medical condition and you are not able to work or disabled for a certain period of time, there's no waiver for a person.
There's no waiver if you're living there.
Okay. So if you're in the hospital and you're not living there, there still not a waiver.
If you're not living there, no one's in the house for the duration of time, you can apply for the credit. It's whether or not someone's physically there using the trash service.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, I live at 1665 Reynolds Road, and I have listened to a whole lot of comments regarding the waste management. I've been here in this area for since '95, and one of the reasons I voted for the city of South Fulton was because I wanted a standardized waste collection. I think that when the councilwoman got up the first time and she mentioned the word change, and that is a really difficult thing to do. Change is constant. Nothing is always stagnant. Yep. And I think all of us have ideas of what we want, and we have been served by GFL in my terms, very, very unsatisfactory ways. But at the same time, we're here at the brink. We're at the 11th hour. So we have to give the city a chance to be able to do some of the things that they are proposing. Yes, we're going to have hiccups in this. We are going to have a lot of hiccups, but I'm asking the city to be open and resilient and to listen. That's the key word. Deep listening, not just listening, but deep listening to the citizens as we go through this process of coming into having this standardized sanitation program. Personally, I have no questions, but I just had to make that comment because I think that all of us are in this together. And as we move forward, we have to move forward together and not separate from each other.
Thank you.
That was very nice.
Yeah, change is difficult, and we're working to make this as simple to the citizens as possible. It's not going to be a perfect process. There were a lot of good ideas that came out this evening. I'm going to get to you. I'm not wrapping up yet. But, and we're going to take those good ideas and see how we can improve this as well. So with that.
And thank you very much for allowing me to ask this. I know I've been up to the speaker podium
but that's what it's
once
for.
before.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, or any of the representatives tell me, what city code that we are operating under as you offer this service?
You mean what authorizes the city to
Yes.
provide this service?
Yes.
Actually, it's a couple things. It's our charter, and there's a statute that's associated with it as well. If you send me an email, or which you can find my email address on the webpage, I can provide the statute for you.
Okay, and you can't tell me now. You don't have it here.
I don't have it. I don't have it here with
Okay.
me. No.
Because you don't answer your emails.
Oh. Okay. District 1. Okay. All right. So we've learned a lot tonight. We appreciate everybody coming out. Is there any last words from council tonight? Okay. Very good. Thank you and have a great evening. Yep.